Welcome, everyone, to Songs for Black Days. We have a very special guest to be a part of the show today, which is Shane Told of Silverstein. Welcome.
Hi.
So
How's it
we're
going?
gonna talk today about music as medicine and the songs that have brightened your dark days and were food for the soul.
I'm 41 years old. So when this record came out, I was like, I don't know, 10 maybe. So I was in this like weird place where I was just sort of finding out what maybe like having my own thoughts and feelings and emotions like were, you know? And I had heard other music, but it was either like metal or the Beatles. It was like either really like kind of aggressive, like sort of nothing I can really relate to or understand in the metal side, or it's like the Beatles, which is just like love and happiness and, or oldies or like stuff like that. So for me, hearing Nirvana for the first time and it being kind of like something for my generation, I think it was the first time I ever felt like someone was speaking for me. That particular song, it's just spelt it out so much, like, some very simple lines that were like very aggressive and in a way that the Beatles or Metallica or whatever, like would never, really say like, I'm so horny. They would never say that. Right. So that was a really interesting record. And I think the cool thing about that album is every time something happens in my life or whatever, and I revisit this album, I listen to it again and I discover something new that I didn't maybe understand. Definitely didn't understand when I was like 10, but maybe I didn't even really understand when I was 17, or maybe I didn't even really understand when I was like, let's say 27. I've got this band called Lifetime. They're from New Jersey, and they were a really pivotal band for me because they were the first band I ever heard that blended fast punk rock with more of an emo melody, lyrics, and vibe. And they really changed my life because I think up to this band, I wasn't as into some of the emo bands. I was like more into punk rock. And then I was like, oh shit, you can kind of have both. And it was really just game changing because I was getting a little sick of some of the Fat Record style, like skate punk. And this band just like opened up so many doors. And again, didn't print all the lyrics in their book. Don't know all of them. This song I picked called 25 Cent Giraffes. There's literally a part I do not know the lyrics. I do not know what they are. And I have had many debates with people on maybe what they are. But every time I go to a lyric website, this part is just omitted because it's omitted in the booklet. And I wonder if Ari Katz, the singer of Lifetime, even knows what they are. But this record is one of my favorite albums ever. And the band broke up right after they put out this album. I think this album came out in like 98 maybe. And they broke up right after and no one thought they would ever play again. And they came back in 2005 and I saw them play New Jersey at the Stone Pony. And it was the first time I'd ever cried while watching a band ever.
Dude, that's kind of beautiful.
And I was 24 years old. So I was like, I wasn't like a kid, but I like totally fanboyed, cried, emotionally, like could not handle this feeling of seeing this band live on stage. So obviously pretty important record to me. I want to talk about a record that's a more recent album that really stuck with me. And it's by a band called the Menzingers. And they put out this album called After the Party a few years ago. I want to say maybe 5 years ago. And this came out at kind of a time in my life when I was sort of trying to figure out what was next for me, kind of a transitionary time between relationships. And this was just a record I found myself like putting on over and over again. And there's a line in the first track that's where are you going to go now that your 20s are over? And I don't know, it's just kind of like this aging punk, I'm not a kid anymore record. After the party, it's just me and you is another line. And it is this kind of like reality that sort of things are changing. And I don't know why, but so many of these lyrics just really stuck with me in a way. And I think this band is just fantastic too. So yeah, I will definitely love this album until the day I die because of that it was there for me, at a particularly tricky time. Love well, young man. Probably the most sad boy band ever, and a band I've loved for over 20 years now. And there's a song from their first album called The Longest Winter, which is just kind of the epitome of emo and the epitome of sadness. And I don't know, this record's really interesting because I would put it on when I was sad and it would make me feel better. And I would also put it on when I was happy. And I don't really know how that works. Like, it was just like a record that one size fit all. It was like, sometimes I'm sad, I'm listening to this record. Sometimes I'm happy, I'm listening to this record. I don't know what that is, but it worked for me. So I picked this one because if people were going to listen to this, I mean, this is pretty brutal. So very slow, 3/4 time. His voice is just so low and like, oh. The last one I'd like to give you is by an artist called Frank Turner from the UK.
Yep.
Just a guy that's just an incredible singer-songwriter, and similar in the way the Menzingers write. He has a similar thing too, where a lot of it is very coming of age punk. It's kind of songs that aren't obviously about growing up, but are about growing up, about experiencing new things. And he has a song called Long Live the Queen, which is about his friend passing away. And it's one of the most sad, emotional songs. And the first time I ever heard it, I cried. And every time I've heard it since, I've had that urge to, and of course it's like, you got it. You're a man, be strong. You can't cry during, movies or Tim Hortons commercials or whatever. And even though I do sometimes, I'm an emotional being. This song still gets me every time. And I know that the premise of this podcast isn't like, what are the saddest songs ever? Yeah. Although that's could be a cool premise for a podcast. But I think the idea of a song about someone close to you dying, passing away, and having to deal with it, and also kind of live their memory and love their memory and continue to kind of support them. And it's just such a beautiful song for that. And all the people that I've lost, whether it's friends or family members or whatever, I think every time this is a song that I think I'm really glad I know. And not to say like I run out and the first time I'm like, oh my God, my friend died, and I run to the stereo and I crank this song up because it's about someone dying. It isn't always about that, because music isn't always like a current fluid thing. Like, once you know a song, you can go back in your mind and you can listen to it without listening to it. You can think about it. You can sing it. You can, you know what I mean? You can remember it. So I think that I want to thank Frank for writing a song and having that in my memory bank of what it is to celebrate someone's life and death. And I think that's like a really beautiful thing that he did and that he wrote, and that's really important. And it's still a song that every time I hear, it means so much to me. And I'm sure so many other people from a tremendous album too. That entire Love Iron Song album is incredible. So for me, that's an important one.
That's that's a beautiful thing. And there's a website where Nick Cave answers fan questions, and he writes these like incredible missives about whatever people ask him. People ask him some pretty deep stuff, and there's this really, really beautiful piece he wrote about the how grief is inextricably tied to love. Like we will lose everyone we love, whether they die, whether we break ties with them. You can't love something and not experience grief at some point, whether that's at the end of it. You could have a reason, a season, or a lifetime. You have people in your life and whatever, but I think it's a beautiful thing to end on. Like sadness, what's sadder than losing people? That's a black day. A black day is the day that one loses someone one loves, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And I'm gonna go and put this on. We're gonna put this on a playlist so people can go down your rabbit hole.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, leave it to Nick Cave to say it better than everyone else. Obviously, that guy's been through. Man, that guy's been through it.
Dude.
I'm glad he can. I'm glad he has some understanding then, because if he didn't, damn. Real bad. But yeah, what an amazing man.